Hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. Jack Chow on East West, once again talking about money. All right. Well, which is a big part of our life, right? Well, joining me, as you can tell from the previous shows, is the expert of money, expert of managing money, managing your money, Mr. Stephen Huntley. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again.
All right,
Pleasure to be here.
And the reason you know that, last time we felt we weren't done yet.
That's right.
Right? And I even said that probably we're half done, not even half.
Right.
And questions are going to be raised, right? And collecting my email, I've got to respond that I summed up into 8 group of questions.
Okay.
About personal finance.
All right.
Call it a personal finance? How do you term it? Personal finance
I think,
or individual finance or whatever, or what?
Individual is
individual is not the term.
Yeah.
Personal.
Personal.
Individual could be
personal financial planning.
Individual could be individually from company to company.
That's right.
Right. So personal
it's just
finance.
that person, yeah.
Personal finance. Okay. Those questions tend to be in the area about how they handle what they have so little reserved from the over time from the part as a portion of the hard-earned money.
Right.
Right. Speaking of that, though, some companies do have their kind of plan, pension plan, vested for terms like 5 years, 6 years, whatever. So, to me, it's like an education because I never touched that.
Okay.
Right. Good. So, can you explain about, for example, my first response from the one of the emails says that my company has a matching program that becomes vested in 5 years. What does this mean?
Okay. The term vested comes, it's kind of an old term. What it actually means is that by your work with a company, you now have earned the ability to actually fully or partially participate in the retirement program or whatever program.
Ability or seniority?
Well, no. Vesting means this. Let's say you work for a company and they say, we have a retirement plan, but you can't have access to the retirement plan until you've worked for us for 5 years. At 5 years,
you're still talking about seniority.
That's right. So you have to work for the company. Now, you have to look at every vesting one is different. Sometimes you work for a company for so many years and then you get fully vested. Sometimes you work for a company for so many years and then you get partial vestment.
What does the term vested mean in this case?
You're actually participating in that program. Meaning that, let's say they have what's called like a defined benefit program or a benefit program where you would get a pension. Okay.
I see.
And these are kind of rare, but they still happen. And so when you're vested, you are now a participant in that program. So the program will continue on.
I see.
If you leave, in a lot of cases, if you leave the job, let's say you retire or you move on to another position, you're still eligible for those benefits.
How about if this person quit?
If they quit, if you're vested, you're still eligible for those benefits. But you have to look at each particular benefit or each particular program to make sure that how long it's going to be, what are the consequences for leaving it, how much percentage do you give up? Is there a painful percentage that you have to give up when you leave it?
Okay.
But vesting is it's around, but it's not as popular as it used to be because most companies don't do a defined benefit plan.
So you're saying that for this question, this audience is asking, and he says 5 years. Right. So what does the 5 year mean?
So he's worked for whatever entity, I shouldn't say firm, but entity, for 5 years.
For 5 years.
He's reached that threshold where now he can he's no longer a distant employee. Now he can participate
I see.
in whatever this particular program that he happens to have.
I see. So where does the money come from?
The money comes from, in a defined benefit program, it usually comes from a match between the employer and the employee, and they pool the money together.
You're talking about matching funds.
Usually, sometimes it's matching funds. Sometimes, if it's like the post office or governmental, they put up the money. The employer does. It's very rare, though, that happens anymore.
Okay. So,
but you have actually. The truth is, you get to participate.
Suppose this person's situation, it is a matching fund. You're talking about 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30, whatever.
Everything's individual, Jack. Everything is like that. It's individual.
I see. It's not by term, by laws, by whatever.
It's by agreement.
It's by agreement.
Essentially between the employer and the employee, usually.
What if the owner, I mean the business, tells you that you don't have to put up anything yourself?
The owner says to you, Jack, I will fund your entire retirement, and you don't have to put up anything.
So
that's very rare.
I see.
The only one that I know of, it would be an example of that, would be the U.S. military.
Oh, I see.
Where you work 20 years for the U.S. military.
I see.
You don't have to put up any money. At the end of 20 years, you can retire.
All right, okay.
That's
so after all, what kind of amount we're talking about? Is there a percentage versus your salary or what?
There's no set amount. There's no, dollar amount. Each plan is very different, but there's no bottom threshold and there's usually no top threshold. So. But it's very individualized.
But there's supposed to be some kind of a guidelines to give you the ceiling.
Oh, that's true.
Of course.
Every program has
every
program has their guidelines. They're all different. You have to read them. You have to understand them. And if you don't understand them, you need to make sure you understand them, because we're talking about your future here.
I see. So there's no certain years about age when the person started to invest into this thing, or
there may be.
Right.
There may be. There could be age. Or could be, how many years you have to work for the company, what status you have to be in the company.
All right.
That type of thing. It's very individual, and you have to look at it very carefully.
Okay. So anyway, to the audience who raised this question, saying that my company has a matching program that becomes vested in 5 years, what does that mean? Well, do not think, or that the answers from Steve satisfies? If not, you can still write to me.
Yeah.
I can always get hold of him.
Yeah.
He's a good friend of this program, and he's of Trilogy. Trilogy is a big firm, right? Yeah. He's of Trilogy. He is ready to serve, to provide the free information to you, to help you feel happy about your money, however little.
Right.
All right. Okay, next question on my list says, I have only used a saving, or probably I should, let's go ahead with this one.
Okay.
I have only used a savings account, and the bank offered CDs, but it does not accumulate fast enough. All right, naive question. Excuse you saying that, I'm kidding. I also don't want to risk my savings.
Okay.
Neither do I. How do I know what is right for me and my life? It's
That's
a
big
great question, isn't it?
That's a big question.
Big question, right?
Certificates of deposit are very common, and the first thing I would look at this person and say, what is your capacity for risk? You're putting money in a bank.
Okay.
Everything is
your
risk.
own definition of
how
risk.
risk tolerant are you? Some people are very risk tolerant, or very scared of risk, whatever. Second of all, what does this person want this money for? Do they want to retire with it? Do they want to buy a house with it? Put their kids through college? Whatever. Okay. And second of all, when you say you're not accumulating it fast enough, actually does that mean? Do you, in your eyes, you should be getting more percent. What you're probably saying.
And once again, this person's definition about what is fast.
Yeah, what is their fast?
What is fast enough, right?
Because what I decide is fast, and what you decide is fast, may be two different things.
Give us a norm, though.
Okay, well, you're looking at, if it's let's take an example. If it's a young person, they probably want to accumulate as much money as possible as they move towards their future. So they put their money in a CD. The CD is not collecting as much as they feel comfortable with. Right. I'm just using it as an example. Everybody's different. But.
Suppose this couple, they're in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
They have 2 kids, for example, right? Only all toddlers. They put up something like 20,000. Not big money, right? So we apply those numbers into the situation. What would be your answers to his question?
Okay, my first thing would sit down and since it's a couple, the first prerequisite is men and women look at money very differently. Very differently. Experience has taught me that.
Oh, you're telling me the truth, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that part.
Second of all, we come to an idea of what's the money going to be used for, where are we going to go with it, and how's the best way to get there. What is the consequences of if the money just sits there? If the money is just sitting in the bank as a certificate of deposit. You have to look at the certificate of deposit. Many people don't read it because there could be consequences as far as penalties and things of that nature. There may be some tax consequences in taking that money out. So it's best to be very prudent. And
rather, this couple looks to me, I mean, this person, this audience, look to me that he does have, or she does have a little surplus. On the other side, she or he is not kind of like likely to run into some kind of risk.
Right.
They're kind of in between, caught in between. They are not satisfied with the bank interest, which is so little, almost nothing, as you would talk about, versus zero. And they are afraid of risk. So that question, if we want to go deeper, there might be an answer. Yeah. So only you can answer. What would be the thing? Do you have anything with a limited risk or some kind of a guaranteed risk range? Something like that.
That's a great question. There's...
Shall we take a small moment? When we come back, you'll have more time to gather all the info. This question seems to be very prevailing.
Okay.
Very representative.
Okay.
To the case, right?
All right.
Okay. So let's be out a little bit. When we come back, we'll find out more. Stay with us.